really have cravings sometimes here and there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do eat like some bad stuff too.
Yeah.
And I know it's holding me back to a certain degree.
But that's the thing. So it's like you have to, instead of saying like this is bad, you have to give yourself grace and be like, this is what I did in the past, and what can I learn from this past, you know? Because like a lot of people start feeling bad, or like you can't have a huge shift dramatically, you know? So like you have to make small increments and be like, okay, like this month I'm gonna shift this out with this, and the next month I'm gonna shift this out with this, or eat a little bit less this, or whatever the case is. In the beginning, what I did was like, it kind of struck me like lightning one day. I was in high school and I was like, you know what, like I really want to have a physique and I really want to look good and all these things. And it struck me like lightning, and I went down the rabbit hole of like looking up everything wrong to eat and right to eat. And I like having knowledge like really changed my perspective on food, because like when you know like like how something is being made that you're eating, it changes your perception on it. Like, you know, for example, like there's so much in the meat industry, how animals are treated, and so many people like are a lot more conscious about that now than they were in the past. But it's not only that, like you have to look at that with like fruits, and like it's more like thinking a little bit more about everything that you consume. So like everything that you consume, like ask yourself like, is this serving me or is this not? And then when you have that thought, like, is this serving me or is this not, like you change your perception on like the things that you actually want to put in your body. And this is not only food, this can be like tobacco consumption, everything you drink. Like consumption is also what you watch, what you listen to, like all these things. So if you're just, a little bit more intentional on what you're consuming in your body, then I think that really helps a lot. Yeah. And then like, you know, in the beginning, I was always curious, like how many grams of protein are in one egg, or how unhealthy is this, or how is ice cream made? And when you know ice cream is made purely almost with dairy and sugar and whatever else, then you kind of question like, okay, is this something I actually want to consume? And then just small things like that, I would say. I
see. Yeah, I think like a lot of people don't know how processed some foods are, and how many like bad ingredients is like sugar or like carbs are in like pancakes, ice cream, or something like that. Yeah. And just learning more about it could help. I mean, I have some discipline, but sometimes I'm struggling with that too. Yeah. Do you have some tips? Yeah. So like the mindset too. So I almost see the mind almost as the body, but just in your head, right? So it's like, what are you doing to exercise your mind? So this is how I always think. So like everybody knows how to exercise your body. You're running, you're in the gym, you're doing sports, whatever the case is. And then you need to also think of it like, how am I exercising the mind? And like, I really felt this, you know, like when you're in school and you feel mentally challenged, like this is a mental exercise. When you're going through a tough time in a relationship, this is a mental exercise because it's mentally stimulating and there's a lot of complex emotions and things that you have to go through. So what I do for like mental exercise is really like books. And I normally will speak to a psychologist as well, because I see it as like going to the gym for my mind. So like, you know, I first went to a psychologist because I had some problems with my ex and I wanted her to come into psychology with me, but she didn't want to, but I decided to go myself. And then I just fell in love with the mental exercise aspect of it, because I felt that every time I was going in, I was learning more. And then like just having like, again, like similar to your exercises, but with rituals. So like what mental exercises are going to be like important to you that you maintain. Like I make sure that every day I try to listen to a podcast, every day I try to read, every day I try to have like something that's like mentally challenging me in some regard. What do you think is like the best starting point? Like meditating, or start reading a book, or like a journal, or what do you think is the best to start with? I think it's two things. So one of them could be having a mentor that is somewhere where you want to become, and then you're learning from them and you're in an environment that's actually challenging you. So they bring you into work, or they bring you into a meeting, or they push you into some sales call, or whatever the case is, where you're mentally very challenged and having to learn through a mentor. And then I think this also kind of ties into reading. And I was going to say reading because you're learning from somebody else's experience and somebody else's words. but just like tapping into somebody else's expertise and having to learn that, right? And I think just with mind, it's really like you need to ask yourself, like, what do I really want to learn? You know, because you don't want to just consume everything. So you need to ask yourself, like, what's important for me to learn? And then when you ask yourself that and you answer that, then you can look at people who have accomplished that. And then once you study their craft, then you have something to mentally like exercise. It's the same with fitness. You want to have like a goal, an objective. And there's some people that are like, yeah, I just want to stay lean and stay fit, but that's still an objective. That's still a goal that they want to maintain. So if you have like a goal in mind, like what do I actually want to learn, then you can actually exercise your mind towards that goal.
And you said like a mentor could be a huge role. Right, so you have a mentor?
I had mentors in America, and I've had small mentorships throughout my career and stuff like that. And like, yeah, like finding someone that you really respect and look up to and want to learn from, and then just asking them, like, will you be my mentor, and dedicate like a certain amount of hours per week that you're spending time with them. Touring is amazing, and I think it's so underrated because it saves so much time on failing, and like if you learn from someone who's succeeded, of course you're gonna have your own path, but you can skip a lot of steps that you would like looking online and stuff like that from a mentor when they can like walk you along the way.
That's true.
Yeah,
I think like sometimes just asking someone whatever you need or whatever you want to could be the answer.
Exactly.
Because sometimes people are scared of someone who is like very successful. If it's a rapper, if it's like an entrepreneur or something like that.
Exactly.
They don't even try to ask him a question, or when they meet him in person.
Yeah.
But they are humans too. They
Exactly.
went sometimes the same path or a similar path you want to go. So just asking them could be the answer. You said you're doing a bit of like soul stuff too. That is something you like can grab or reach that easily. How are you doing that, or how are you like protecting or growing your soul? Or
yeah, so I think like with soul, like this is really about like looking inward instead of like looking outward. And this is what, you know, for example, if you have like questions, like asking yourself, if you are like, say you feel uncomfortable in a relationship, right? Like you need to tap in and say like, what are like my boundaries, or what are the things I value, instead of, because there's all these like shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and this is how a healthy relationship should look, and this is how unhealthy relationships are, but everybody is different. Yeah. So like tapping into your soul and saying like how are you living that you feel like you're respecting your soul and listening to your soul, you know? And like, are you, when you have a hunch and you feel like, I need to do this in life, I really want to move to this country, or I really want to, you feel like you need to break up with this person, or you feel like you need to surround yourself with different people, like you need to like listen to your soul. And I think because there's so much noise in today's society, it's really like sitting with yourself in silence and like speaking to yourself almost. And like I like to do this through meditation, because when you meditate, your thoughts aren't on different things. So it's just focusing on breath, and then almost just listening to yourself. And then I found that you get to sort your thoughts, and then you get to align your soul and your mind and your body as well.
I see, yeah. I think more people than they think of like are often speaking to themselves or to their soul. And it is like this question, should I do it, should I not? And then they often do what they shouldn't do. Like they don't listen to themselves.
Yeah.
And I think if you're listening more to yourself, or what your body is telling you, what your mind or your soul is telling you, you can grow much faster.
Yeah.
That is still something I need to work on, because it's easier said than done.
Exactly.
I think like for most people, like you and yourself is like the biggest, you know, like you are blocking your success. Absolutely, in most cases.
Yeah.
Like you have the chance, you just need to take it.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done.
Exactly. And like it was so interesting too, because when I spoke to an energy healer in Ubud here, and she, like as soon as I met her, she was like, your soul is telling me that you need to live in another country. And I was like, yeah, like that's actually what I'm doing right now. That's why I'm here, you know? So there's like, and like energy healers are very tapped into like energies in the universe and people. So I got to like reflect and speak to her a lot. But also like, you know, when like, you know, that intuition is almost like what your soul calling, and where you feel like you need to belong, or where you feel is right for you, is almost all these like soul callings that you just need to listen to. And like when you listen to your soul callings, it's like respecting yourself. And then like when you respect yourself, like it feeds yourself even more, and it gives you energy, you know. And then you like, you get to go into the, like when you're so, you can see, you know, for example, when you're in an environment and you're in a restaurant or whatever, and you see someone and you know like they feel so comfortable in their own skin, it's because they're respecting and listening to their soul.